Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to go over the review for your quadratic characteristics and transformations, sections 3.1 and 3.2. The review is set up a little different, so I'm going to go through all the odds and then give you hints at the end over the evens, okay? So number one, what is the equation of the parabola with a vertex of negative 2, 5 that opens down and has the same compression as y equals 2/3 x squared? Okay, so if it says it has the same compression of that, you're going to write that same number, 2/3. Now, I'm given the vertex, so I should be writing my answer in vertex form. Remember, it's x minus h squared, and so it would be minus a negative 2. In other words, it would be x plus 2 squared plus 5. And it says, so that checks out the vertex. So and it also says it opens down. So I'll throw a negative out in front. That'd make it open down. And then it says it has the same compression of 2/3 x squared, which it does. So, usually when you do a transformation, you change f of x to g of x. So I'll say g of x equals that. And that's all I have to say about number one. Number three, given f of x equals a times x minus a squared, that's vertex form, x minus a squared plus k. If a is less than 0, and h is greater than 0, and k is greater than 0, then which of the four quadrants of could the vertex... Looks like there's a little typo here. We'll scratch out the word of. Which of the four quadrants could the vertex f of x exist in? Okay. So you're going to have to think back to the last time we talked about quadrants, which is probably geometry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? And so this is what you do if you're completely stumped on a question like this. Plug in numbers that are true for what it says. If a is less than 0, that's like negative 2. I don't know. Negative 1, negative 2. It doesn't matter. A negative number. And then x, and then h is greater than 0. So I'll say like minus 2. I don't know. 2 is greater than 0. Because remember, it's like flipped when you put it on the inside, so it'll stay minus still. And then k is greater than 0. I'll say like plus 2. Alright, and then you can, throw f of x, y equals whatever you want by this. There's a random function that fits the parameters that were given to me. Don't forget your power of 2. So then type this into your graphing calculator and see what quadrant the vertex exists in. So let's look at the graph. So here I have a screenshot of my random function that I created, and you see the vertex at 2, 2, that is in quadrant 1. So that's the answer, quadrant 1. Alright. Does the parabola... Oh, wait. That's an even. Consider the equation y equals x squared. What effect will replacing x with x plus 3 have on the graph? So replacing x with x plus 3. In other words, it's going to say y equals x plus 3 in parentheses. I know it's in parentheses because it says you're replacing x with x plus 3. It didn't say you were just adding on a 3, because then it would say x squared plus 3, but this is x plus 3 squared, okay? So anyway, doing something like that, remember inside is backwards, so that's going to go left 3. Number 7, determine the vertex of the parabola, negative 2x squared minus 6x plus 6. So this one's in standard form. So if it is in standard form, your formula for your axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. So let's see here. You have a is the number in front of the x squared. B is the number in front of the x. and c is the number by itself. So, x equals negative b over 2a. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative b, so that's positive 6, over 2a, 2 times negative 2. Looks like that's going to be 6 over negative 4, which is negative 3 over 2. Or you could also say negative 1.5. Alright, so I got my axis of symmetry. The next thing to do is plug it in and get the y for the vertex. And then I'll have the vertex, I guess I should say. So here I've substituted negative 1.5 in for x. So you get negative 2 times negative 1.5 squared minus 6 times negative 1.5 plus 6. That's going to get you a y value of 10.5. Okay? So because, just while we're on the topic, because this is a negative up front, that means the graph is going to open down, which means I'm going to have a maximum point. Okay, so just to point it out. But the question's asking us what the vertex is, and so we got negative 1 and 10.5. So just write that for your answer, negative 1.5. I think I said negative 1, comma 10.5. There we go. Let's move on to number 9. The vertex of a quadratic function is negative 4. Write a quadratic function in vertex form with its vertex. So this one's really, particular. It's kind of different than what you're used to seeing, but is it anything new? Not really. It's, what vertex form looks like. Remember this problem we did right here? This is vertex form right there. So there, I wrote it right here by the equation now. So that's vertex form. All you need to do is plug in the numbers for your vertex. Remember, vertex form, this is h, comma, k. So I'm going to write f of x equals, you could put any number you want for a. Anything would work because the only thing I was given is it needs to have this vertex. So I don't even have to write a number for a. So how about I'll just do that. I'll write x, and so it's minus h. So minus a negative 4, it's plus 4. So x plus 4 squared. And then did I have anything for the k? You could write plus 0 if it makes you happy, but this is all you really need to write. Just since it's the review, I'll throw on a plus 0. Okay, but that's it. That's really all you need to do. If you know vertex form, if I say write an equation, you can make your own equation if I give you the vertex. But this new function is then translated 5 units left and 1 unit down. What is the new equation? So 5 units left would mean I'm going to add 5 to the inside. Alright, and then I'm going to go 1 unit down, which means I'm going to minus 1 on the outside. So let's see here. I'm going to have g of x equals, and x plus 4 plus 5, that's x plus 9 squared. And now it's going to say minus 1. So the next thing says, what is the new vertex? The new vertex would be at negative 9. Remember, backward sign on the inside, but normal sign on the outside. Negative 9, negative 1. Okay, so that's a good one to write down on your note card, if you were, kind of not completely following me on that. It's just one I recommend writing on the note card. Okay, so we're almost done here. So number 11, let's graph this and then identify the key features listed. So I'm going to do this key feature stuff first, and then I'll graph them second. What's the axis of symmetry on this? This one's in vertex form, okay? So I'm going to just write x equals negative 3 because it's just the number on the inside but the backward sign. Alright, and is it a maximum or a minimum? It is a negative 2, which means it's going to open down, which means it's going to have a maximum. So I'll circle maximum. And then what is that max or min value? That's negative 1 right there. So I say y equals negative 1. And so I know my vertex is at negative 3, negative 1. And my domain on any parabola is all real numbers. And my range, so I'm going to write y something negative 1. Remember, we just discussed that it opens down. So if it opens down, it's going to be less than, because it's just going to go down forever. So I'm going to say less than or equals to, because it does pass through negative 1. Alright, so I answered everything. The next blanks right here are for the next question. You can type this in, do Control T, but I do want to at least see the vertex on there. So make sure you're graphing the vertex and a couple points to the left of it and a couple points to the right of it, and let me show you what that'll look like. Okay, so it looks something like this. The last couple points do go off the graph because it only goes up to negative 7, and those values were at negative 9. So I just put a couple just off the graph. And I have my vertex, and I have the first couple points next to the vertex. But yeah, that's all I'm looking for when I'm graphing is, 5 good points. Okay, so that concludes me going over the odds. I'll give you some hints to the even numbers. Alright, so pause it, work on it, or pause it, look at the hints, and then work on it. I don't know, but just do it on your own, okay? Okay, so number 2, what's the maximum value of the function y equals negative x squared plus 6x plus 12? Do the standard form axis of symmetry formula, and then plug in your x answer into the function, and you'll get your answer for the maximum value. Alright? Number 4, does the parabola negative 2 times x minus 5 squared plus 3 contain a maximum or minimum point? What is that maximum or minimum value of y? So I told you it is going to be a max, and then it's in vertex form, so it's the k value. So I won't tell you which one it is, but here's the vertex form formula. So yeah, just think about that. Number 6, find the equation of the function that results from translating or shifting the graph of the function shown down 3 units and left 2 units. So use vertex form, and then I took the vertex, it was at 4, 3, and I went down 2, and I went left, I went down 3 and I went left 2, just like it said. So that gave me a vertex at 1, 1. So I have an h and a k of 1, 1, and again, vertex form, there's that formula again. Okay, number 8. Write a rule for g of x described by the transformation of the graph of f of x equals x squared that is reflected across the x-axis, followed by a translation of left 3 and down 4. So, how do you reflect on the x-axis? Throw a negative on the outside of the function, okay? How do you get something to go left 3? You add 3 to the inside of the function. That's why I put it in parentheses. And how do you get something to go down 4? You minus 4 on the outside. Okay, so I just wrote little hints there. You can put that all together and write your own function. Number 10. The function f of x equals 2 times x minus 3 squared plus 5 is shifted 2 units right and 6 units down. What's the new equation? So 2 units right would be to minus 2 on the inside of the function. That's why I wrote minus 2 above the minus 3. Okay, and then shifting 6 units down would be minusing 6 on the outside, which is why I wrote the minus 6 above the plus 5. So combine those numbers, and whatever you get is your new function. Okay, number 12. So this one's in standard form. So you'd want to do the standard form axis of symmetry formula and then plug it in and get the y answer and all that. But you should get a vertex of, it is 2.5, negative 4.5, and then these are the 5 points that would fit on this graph. So your graph should look like mine. So that was this is your hint for this one, me giving you your hint for this one. And the domain, of course, is all real numbers. But other than that, that's all I have to say about this review. I hope this helped. Good luck on the tests. Write whatever you want on your note card. Goodbye, everyone.